Hello, I am your Kingdom Spiritual Transformational and Life Purpose Life Coach and Mentor, Latricia Booker. And we are here to be empowered, to heal, to get delivered, and get free. We know who we are. We elevate our minds and our spirits and raise and expand our consciousness to ultimately walk in our true divine purpose and power. And it is the truth of who God has created us to be. Kingdom people, we are history makers, we are world changers, we are dream successors, we are wealth generators, we are manifestors, we are curse breakers, and we most definitely are transformers. More than MCI. Yeah, Kingdom people, we are. Kingdom people, thank you all so very much for viewing my videos. Thank you for all the likes, subscribes, shares, your comments and feedback, for all your financial contributions to my channel, for all the seeds that you sow into me in my ministry. Thank you for all of your bookings and for all of your purchases. Thank you, Kingdom people, for everything that you do, Kingdom people. Thank you. And so, Kingdom people, I am on location and we are getting ready to break these chains. Let's elevate. Let's activate, Kingdom people. Come on. Kingdom people. There is a time when you must still proceed even with red flags. When God says proceed even with red flags. That's the time to proceed even with red flags. When God says proceed even with red flags. So let me share. God took me back to my old notebook with some messages. He led me to go to my old notebook. There were some messages in there he had given me some time ago that I just never released or delivered because he never led me to. So God took me back to this message. And he said to me that it's time to deliver this message. And then he also reminded me of what was going on in my life at the time when he gave this to me. And I was experiencing something with someone that I seen a lot of red flags, but I seen some red flags. And upon seeing these red flags during this relationship, the coming together of this relationship and just going through the relationship, you know, every time a red flag came up, God would just move me to have a conversation with this person about what I was seeing. And just coming from a place of having some understanding, some wisdom, some experience. So, and knowing what I'm seeing when I'm seeing it because of awareness, I had to address these things. And God moved me to do so as well. And so instead of running, because you know how I go, when you see red flags, run. Instead of running, I would talk to God about it. And I would talk to God about it because of what he told me concerning this person. How this was someone that I was to honor, acknowledge, walk with. And we were supposed to be in each other's lives. So knowing that and seeing these red flags was challenging for me because I'm one who does tend to run when I see certain red flags, especially certain ones. And so in this case, I would communicate with God and God would tell me to address it. And God will also tell me how to address it. And then this whole thing, I was going through a whole transformation as to how to relate, how to be relational, so to speak, after going through some things where having, you know, being in some not so great experiences, coming out and not really wanting to even entertain or be bothered with anything that even resembled something toxic. Red flags. And so what I learned in all this is when you see a red flag, sometimes depending on the situation that it is, you probably just need to address it lovingly. And that's what I learned. And so first I want to give you Proverbs 3 and 5 and 6. And this came into play during this whole time. It comes into play, period, in life for me. And I'm prayerfully as you as well. But during this time, this is something that stood out to me. This is what God will minister to me and what I will be reminded of. And Proverbs 3 and 5 and 6 says, trust in the Lord with all thy heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek his will in all you do, and he will show you which path to take. And so sometimes, again, as I said, we go on our own wisdom, our own knowledge, what we know, what we're aware of, as we should, because we should always weigh what we're seeing against or with our previous experiences. That's how we learn. We gain wisdom, trial and error. You learn things from your past experience, and in doing that, it is wise to look at things and discern for yourself what it is you're seeing. It, assess it, evaluate it, and form whatever conclusion. And so here, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 tells us to trust in the Lord with all our heart and do not depend on our own understanding. So even with red flags, God is saying trust him and don't depend on your own understanding. Now again, that doesn't mean don't see what it is for what it is. But what I learned in all this, in trusting God and not leaning to my own understanding, he taught me to address things lovingly. And what happened is, when it comes to the people that you see the red flags in, and God is saying proceed with them, even with the red flags, what's happening is that God is guiding this process. God is leading you. God is orchestrating the whole thing. He's even helping you to have the relationship, develop the relationship, and even address things in the relationship that needs to be addressed. And what happened was this person in particular was very receptive. And so sometimes people just don't know, or sometimes you're bringing some things to people's attention that they're not aware of. They're not aware of what's going on in them. They're not aware because some things have not been brought to their awareness. And what happened in this particular situation is, when I would address these things, they were very receptive to it. And not just that, there was changed behavior in what was being pointed out. And I want to use an example that's a great example that I've experienced, and in this case in particular too. I'm gonna say how we know how narcissists are. Many of us know narcissism. We know the traits and characteristics that narcissists have. Now, I seen narcissistic traits in this person, but this person was not a full-blown narcissist. And I'm just hearing the Holy Spirit say, with my help, and I would just say with God's help, I give it to God, because this person did have narcissistic traits, but as they were addressed and pointed out to them, they adjusted their behavior. But it was because once they were made aware of themselves and realized that that's what it was, and it was coming from a genuine place from me. And just to add to that, this is a person that has made it known that they always know I'm coming from a God space, from a good space of meaning well, because they just know that I'm not out here trying to hurt them or nobody else. So of course that helps. But this is also a person that wants to grow. They want to learn. They're not all in their pride. And not saying that they never had been or can't be, but when you have a willingness to want to grow and you know, you willing to be corrected, when you know that something is there to help you, to correct you, then the red flags can be addressed and corrected. And so that goes into play with when God says proceed, even when you see red flags. And so in this case, those red flags can be addressed and corrected. They don't have to stay red flags. They can be transformed, transmuted. But of course, as with everything, let the Holy Spirit lead you in all this. I'm not in no way, shape, or form saying take a narcissist or anybody, or take a narcissist, or I'm going to just go ahead and say what I'm going to say, or anybody for that matter, and you know what it is and act like that ain't what it is. This is where this applies where God is in the midst, working things out, and he's leading you and showing you, and those red flags are being addressed and corrected lovingly. And so Psalm 73 and 24 tells us, You guide me with your counsel, leading me to a glorious destiny. And so we know that God is guiding us with his counsel and leading us to a glorious destiny. So even when you see red flags in a person, if God is telling you to proceed with them as he's giving you counsel, because he's giving you counsel and he's leading you to a glorious destiny. As I stated before, this is a person that I'm very well aware of that God sent into my life. He sent us into each other's lives for a purpose, to build upon something, to do something great for him. So again, when I saw those red flags, I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. But God said, no, wait a minute, hold on. You wait a minute, hold on. Let me show you something. So in all that, God was giving me counsel. And overall, he's guiding me to a glorious destiny. And so, kingdom people, you may have experiences like that where you may deal with certain people or have dealt with certain people, or maybe it's someone in your life right now is what I'm getting, that God very well may be, building something between the two of you, and you may be very aware of that, but you questioning it because of something that you see, because you see red flags, but God is still leading you with this person or these people or the situation. It could be anything. It could be a person, it could be a situation, and I keep hearing workplace. That's what I keep hearing. So for some of you, there may be something going on in your workplace that needs to be addressed. Maybe God sent you through there to help clean up some stuff. Sometimes that is so. God ain't always running us up out of there. Sometimes he sent us through to address those red flags, to clean the place up, if the place is receptive to that, if the place is willing to change, if whoever is in charge or whatever the case may be is has the capacity to be corrected and redirected, so to speak. And so, yeah, kingdom people, sometimes you will have to proceed even with red flags, but that's only when God says so. But in the midst of all that, God is counseling you, he's guiding you and the person, because again, the person or the situation is receptive to the correction. And so 2 Corinthians 5:16 says, so we have stopped evaluating others from a human point of view. At one time, we thought of Christ merely from a human point of view. How differently we know him now. And so, kingdom people, what God told me concerning this is when we allow him to counsel us, to give us guidance and show us, and guide us in these things, what we're doing is we're looking at things not from a human point of view, but from a spiritual or godly, from his point of view, so to speak. When we allow God to show us what he wants us to see, and again, we allow his counsel and his direction, we're not looking at people and dealing with things from a natural or human point of view. You're being elevated to seeing things from God's perspective, and furthermore being guided, being counseled by God and all those things. So there is a time when God says proceed, even when with red flags. But again, kingdom people, you have to use your discernment. Let the Holy Spirit lead you as always. Don't discount the real red flags that can't be corrected. And some of you know about that. You've been in situations, you've been in relationships, you've tried to resolve things with a person that was completely unreasonable. And you knew that whatever was going on could not be resolved. It could not be corrected. Whatever it was dysfunctional. And maybe you were dealing with someone, or maybe it was you that was just hard to get along with as far as correcting the red flags. Sometimes people don't want to correct themselves. Sometimes people just want you to deal with whatever it is with them. And I'm not speaking of little small stuff, little things that are doable. I'm speaking of things that are, I want to say dysfunctional, but I keep hearing destructive. And we know those things, certain characteristics and traits that people may have, if they continue to have them and they're not correcting themselves, can become a problem. And it don't go away. You can't just blow it over, look past it, and think things are going to get better. The only way that may happen is when you're in prayer and God has you there, and that's what he's leading you to do. And even then, I don't know whether to get better, because I can remember being in that situation too, in another situation, and it didn't get better. But what God did eventually do was remove me from the situation, because he had me there to do my part, which in that other case, this person was not receptive. They wasn't really to do the transforming that God wanted to do in them, to make the shift happen, to get that person where they wanted to be, to ultimately get us where God was taking us. But switching gears again to the person that has the red flags, but they are willing to correct those red flags and get on course with God, because that's what they want. They want God's best for them too. So, kingdom people, when God says proceed even with red flags, it's usually when someone wants God's best for themselves, for you, and for the both of you. When they're on board and in alignment, or at least attempting to align with what God says, what God is doing. That is, kingdom people, when you proceed even when you see red flags. When God says proceed even when you see red flags. Because of course, we always want to make sure God is leading us. Is God giving us the green light, giving us the go? So, kingdom people, when God says proceed, even with red flags, proceed. Even with red flags, accordingly, of course. Okay, kingdom people? So if you like this video, and or if it resonates with you, please just go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Then click on that red subscribe button and subscribe to my channel if you have not already done so. Thank you. Then click on that bell right next to that red subscribe button so that you can get a notification every time I upload a new video. Something like this one, kingdom people. Also, if you are interested in any of the services that I presently offer, if you are interested in sowing a seed into me and my ministry, if you are interested in listening to my podcast show, purchasing my book, The Girl in the Mirror by Sheila Brooks. Sheila Brooks is my pen name. You can find all that information right down below in the description box, along with other helpful information. And so, kingdom people, I love you all so very much. You all know I don't want to leave you, but I do have to go right now. But I will be back to hold my kingdom people down. Now, kingdom people, with that being said, much love, light, and peace, and many blessings to you all. Kingdom people, above all else, let the Holy Spirit lead you in all things at all times. Even when God says proceed, even with the red flag, kingdom people, let him lead you always. Kingdom people, we are unstoppable, we are untouchable, we are unbreakable, and we are unmovable. Kingdom people, that is my time. Jesus girl is out. Peace.